Hi, I'm so sorry. I wasn't sure
Oh.
that I was supposed to be doing the intro. I thought you guys were going to do it. I'm sorry.
You know what?
Grr.
Honestly, I don't. Do we have an intro video?
No, but here, I'll use this one.
Hello, creepy crawlies. I feel like I'm a little bit late for this. I feel like we have basically just kind of nosedived off of the sofa and landed flat on our face right out of the gate. But honestly, that's okay because you know what? This is after dark. This is anything goes. We are live and we are. Hey, Art! Hey, Art! Oh my God. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
No,
I am not wearing purple. Let's go ahead and bring in our co-host. I'm just like I'm kind of chaotic
She's
tonight.
the star of the show. You guys,
No. There are no stars on this show. We are equal contributors.
You
always,
do not have
always equal contributors.
I have a story time.
Oh, good.
Okay,
I have a story
Joey.
time that doesn't
Look, it's
involve
Joey
my
the
child down here. So if my husband could come retrieve this child, somebody else please story time upstairs. Please.
Oh, so okay. So
him
while
too.
you're getting your child retrieved, I just want to basically say,
Upstairs.
last week, I do believe, was it last week that we had our lovely Moxie Rose on with us that I was absolute chaos, came in at the last
I'm
moment.
muted. She's behind you.
Oh,
Or I'm
you're
not muted. Someone was muted me.
Oh God, this is going to be our show, isn't it? This is tonight.
Y'all,
It's
I'm
after
so
dark.
sorry.
Anything goes. Like the show's gonna be chaos no matter what happens. So.
No, I totally get it. All right, so hello, I am DL Memphis. I have Willa Schuyler with me, Magda right below me, and Geeky Gothic Gamer Girl, the 4G. Oh my God, what am I
G4.
doing? G4, Lauren, and we are here tonight to chat with everyone, and we have a interesting show. By the way, let's go ahead and start.
Did you introduce Willow, or did I miss it?
I did.
Okay.
I speak like I speak really fast. I talk really, really fast. And the more anxiety ridden and the more upbeat I feel, I'm not wearing purple. I totally understand that.
Okay, so that was my story time, by the way.
Okay,
DL does not know how to purple.
Not at all.
In saying DL does not know how to purple, I have been to many a convention, both of us cosplay, and usually we're something creepy. We love the horror aesthetic.
I was creepy.
She was creepy. I was Oogie Boogie. I'm usually the loud, colorful one. I don't know. You probably can't tell that by looking at me. DL, if you pull up DL real quick, can we just get a good shot of her? She looks like she's in black and white. She's pale. She usually wears all black. Occasionally, there's pops of red.
I've been red today.
She is the gothiest goth ever. And at
no.
At the last
Magda
convention,
is the most gothiest goth ever.
That's true. Magda's like the Victorian goth where they talk and you just kind of want to melt.
I just have to live vicariously through you guys because as much as I want to be goth, I just don't have the time or patience to do my hair and makeup.
It's a lifetime commitment.
So last convention, DL decides that she's going to go as Lily Munster. And so she's got the purple dress, she's got the hair done, she's got everything. And the whole time she's like, hey guys, what's going on? Hi. Hey. And she was just like, I don't know what is wrong with me. I'm just
bouncing.
I'm usually not like this at a convention. And I'm like, DL, you're usually all in black and you're like silky and sultry. You're wearing purple. You don't know how to purple. That's what's wrong. And now it is a running gag
Yes.
DL
Yes.
does not know how to purple.
I do not know how to purple. I really don't know how to purple. By the way, I just want to go ahead and throw out another shout out. I know that we mentioned him. What is on your cup? What is on your cup? Let me see.
It's Vegas.
Oh,
It's
I'm
just
like
Vegas.
right in the camera. Sorry, but so I do want to shout out while we were there, we met the best guest ever, the best celebrity ever.
Oh my
We
God.
met Marty Grabstein. Grabstein, please help me. Grabstein, thank you. I had it right. How does purple? Eli Cash wants to know, how does purple even work? You don't even understand.
I am a bit
It's-
more of a purple personality, but still, I'm not even like purple. You know purple people. The purple people are like, what's your favorite color? And you look behind them and literally everything in their house is purple. Purple.
Yep.
I associate that with the red hats.
Fair.
And if you're in the South, or I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but like old women with giant red hats who wear purple, it's like that's what I associate with purple. I don't generally do purple. I will do black, and I will do shades of black, and I will do red. That's it. That is absolutely it. No purple ever. But Lily requires some purplish
purpling.
coloring. Yes. But oh my
Purpling.
God, I loved it. It was so much fun.
There you go.
Oh, okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I'm screaming.
Ow!
I love it.
Ow!
Though. Like, your Lily Munster is amazing.
Thank you.
And I will say that you probably would act a lot better than Rob Zombie's wife.
Okay, all right, wait a minute. We are not going to bash Sherry Moon Zombie. I love Sherry Moon Zombie. Baby Firefly is probably one of my favorite characters ever. No, she was not the ideal casting for Lily Munster because I think it does require an element of maturity and grace, but she was a younger version, and I'm not going to discredit that. There was actually, there was some love for it. I'm not gonna lie. I have a love-hate relationship with Sherry Moon Zombie. I absolutely love her.
The only thing I can say is I wish you would have brought a little bit more of her to the character. It very much felt like she was just trying to be like, this is everything I've ever seen Lily Munster do. I'm going to copy paste that. And I wanted almost a little bit more of that like creepiness that she can bring in to the characters she plays. Like if someone says something off like, oh, I'm funny and things are funny, and that look. Like I wanted a little bit more of every once in a while, just little boops of it, but that's okay. She still did a very good job as that character. I just wanted more of her version of that character.
Yes. No, I agree. So we have a topic. Do we have a topic? Magda, do we have a topic?
we do.
Topics
And
exist.
of course, you'd ask me, who's probably the one that's least experienced in this particular topic. No, I researched it, I paid attention, I did look into it, but I have to understand that I'm likely the biggest skeptic of our group. So
Fair.
Everything I saw about it, I believe they called it the Columbus Poltergeist. Is that correct?
Columbus Poltergeist incident, yeah.
So there we are with the young lady in question. No, I think I should leave this one to the three of you.
I do have a little bit of
my comments are going to be a bit offsides. So go at it, Lauren, if you wish.
I have a little bit of an intro. Oh, sorry, I heard an actually. Go.
Okay, so basically, I just wanted to say tonight we're going to be chatting about Tina Resch, who is the central figure in the Columbus Poltergeist case of 1984. She is also currently in prison following the 1992 death of her 3-year-old child, Amber. Lauren, go. That's what I got. Okay. Your turn.
So Christina Boyer, which she eventually also has a name of, but she went by Tina at this point in time, was born on October 3rd, 1969, to a mother whose addiction to heroin moved her to give her up when she was 10 months old, leaving her at a hospital emergency room. She was eventually placed into foster care of John and Joan Resch, who officially adopted her, and she became Christina Resch when she was 2.5 years old. John and Joan were avid foster parents, taking in as many as 6 foster children at a time. It's well known that they were strict disciplinarians and would use their punishment lifestyle to keep control of the children coming in and out of their home. Because of this, Tina is said to have felt very ignored and alone throughout her childhood, the feeling significantly intensifying when her best friend suddenly died in a car wreck. At the age of 12, trigger alert for anyone who has any sort of SA issues, Tina claims that her foster brother began molesting her. She kept the information to herself for a time, but did eventually tell her adoptive parents, whose reactions are said to have been subpar. Here's a quote from Tina. "Finally, I did tell them, but they didn't believe me and slapped my face." Okay. So that is kind of the beginnings of Tina. That was last I left off at 12. At about 14 is when we start getting into the paranormal side of it.
Okay. So basically, let's go ahead and just kind of chat a little bit about her initial upbringing. So you have a child who is part of the foster system. One of the things that I have read is that her foster family was known to have fostered at least 250 children prior to having her. She did accuse her foster brother of molesting her, and at which that point the family yes Eli, we agree, oh, that's nasty. So she basically she accused her foster brother of molesting her. Her family did not respond to it in the appropriate manner, which kind of really was the preemptive strike against her starting this whole paranormal aspect of her personality. At that point, she was known to have tantrums. She screamed at her family and was very insistent about trying to find her foster family.
Yeah, okay, so let's stated that the father, when he would talk about her, said that she was just a very difficult child. She was more strong-willed than the other children, and he did have to discipline her more than he would the other children that would be coming into the house.
All right, so I basically want to put that out there and kind of give some thought, let everybody kind of give some feedback and some thought on her history, because I know that some of us are going to have some very strong opinions about her background and where she came from and how that may have shaped and molded what became of her and where she is now and what has happened to her.
The only thing I can really say in reference to that sort of background is, and I just know it's like every child. If you don't feel like you're getting the attention that you want, you're going to do stuff to get attention.
Yeah.
And
positive or negative.
Positive or negative, exactly. So I'm not saying that anything she's done at this point has been to get attention. I'm just saying it starts this cycle of, no one's going to give me any attention, but if I'm bad, hey, look, I get attention all of a sudden. And that's the only thing I can really think about, just being ignored that much. If what she's saying is true, which I do hold just by reading over the case and everything that I've looked into, I'm not sure how much I trust the word of this person that we are talking about. So I'm just going to leave that there.
As someone who grew up in the system, I know what it's like to basically be forced to lie when I don't want to, because otherwise I was already labeled a liar the moment that I moved into one of my foster homes. So anything that I said or did, it was already, a strike against me. Mm-hmm. So I basically had no choice but to basically create a facade personality so that I wouldn't get in trouble.
No, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So I want to ask, just for the perspective. So when they're commenting that this family had 250 children prior, is that that feels like it's a huge number. That feels like it's very
excessive.
Yes.
And like I know that in many cases that some fosters aren't there permanently, like I was from the age of 5 till I was 19. But I've met some kids who, you know, were only there for a short period of time until, you know, their parents woke up and got help. And we had kids go from one home to the next. Some homes are just meant for respite, to give the parents a break, or to give the foster parents a break. So yeah, that there's like, whether or not 250 kids is like, yeah, I don't think the 250 kids were a permanent stay. I think they were just like passing through. Many of them were.
And actually, Dan just brought up a good question, and that was something that I could not locate: is 250 kids over what kind of time frame? Honestly, I'm just thinking in terms of myself in my age bracket. If I would have had 250 children come through my house, that seems like it would have been very extreme.
Didn't you say that was before she got there?
Yes, that was before she actually was even placed in the home. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is when I started looking at the dates, when you start reviewing the situation, it feels very spread out, because you look at the details of, here's the poltergeist, and here's the death of her child. She was only in foster care from, I do believe it was 1980. Was it 84? It might have been a little bit prior to that, maybe.
Do you mean
like
before
82?
She was adopted?
Well, when she was placed in the foster care program with this family, I do believe it was only like a range of 6 years. And then at that point, they kicked her out. So I think there's some trauma that goes alongside that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kind of skip over that, and we're going to kind of skirt that, unless anybody has any additional comment to add at this point.
Go for it.
Okay. So coinciding with the poltergeist. So the poltergeist itself seems to have started. Oh, wait. Okay. So Geek Gumshoe. So we've commented that we want his input on this. Imagining 250 kids over your entire lifetime, the time frame kind of seems insignificant. Yes, I will say yes, and I will say no. It depends on what your capacity is. But in your home, yes, I mean,
it looks good on a resume if you're looking for parents to take in a child. Yeah, it looks great seeing 150 kids have gone through this foster home. But at the same time, how many how many of these kids actually were raised in that home and not just given up to other homes?
Yeah.
Well, and depending on how many children that you have in your home at one single time, I think that Lauren, you mentioned that they would have up to 6 children at a time. Mm-hmm. You have 2 parents that are overseeing 6 children, and I know that it's possible, but it does spread you very thin.
And that 6 foster children, that was at the point where she was actually adopted. She didn't count as a foster child anymore. She was an adoptive child. I could not find any more about other children being adopted, because like the reports that it would talk about the brother, it would say a foster brother. So I don't know if there are any more adopted children, but that's 6 on top of her. She at that point would have been counted as a daughter.
Yes. Okay, so in 1984, following the incident in which she accused her foster brother of molesting her, and was told that it was not happening, and was basically slapped. There was an abusive situation. There becomes a poltergeist type situation in which, bear with me, paranormal events start manifesting. And you have things such as, so the family basically said that she started having tantrums. She started screaming at our family, and then paranormal events started happening. Things were flying around the room.
Yeah, I think one of the first things it talked about was the clock radio started racing and turning it off and on. They unplugged it, and then it was still acting wonky. There's a whole lot more. I literally just put notes and just generally listed like blah, like all of this stuff.
Yes. Well, and it appears that there were several witnesses to the situation as well. So you had an electrician that came in to investigate the situation. You had a police officer who came in and witnessed the situation, and they were saying
and drew his weapon.
Yes. So you have situations that were coming up that people were saying this seems legitimate, but you also have the family who is opening this up for reporters to come in. And at one point, there were 40 reporters on site, 39 claiming that they did not see anything. However, one did. And there's a photograph. Am I going through this too fast, by the way?
No.
I just kind of want to go over a real quick, like all of the things that happened or were reported to have happened before the reporters jumped in.
Yes, please.
The clock radio was turning off and on. There was an infant in the house who was one of their fosters who had a heart monitor. The heart monitor kept going off, saying that it was not working. They brought in somebody, they replaced the heart monitor on this infant, and it would still continuously just go off. They have seen dark ghost spirits. Doors were slamming. All of the electricity was going off, as in like the switches themselves would move from what was reported. The faucets would turn off and on, and the furniture was moving throughout the house. Those are just the small amount of ones I decided to write down because the list was so long. I was like, you know what? That's way too much. Literally everything you can think of that a poltergeist would do, just put it on that list, and that is what was happening in the house.
Yes.
Lauren, I need to say this because I am in shock. Like, I tried looking up all this information, and you have more information than what I found.
I researched way more than I probably should. When it comes to this stuff, DL too.
No,
pages of notes.
Thank you. Like,
we have pages and pages of notes.
Yes. They also called in a pastor before the reporters came to do a ritual blessing, and then there was another incident where apparently a knife was thrown at Tina, and also she got like pinned against the wall by a table, and also there was headaches and stomach aches, and then I believe they were all like, no, we're haunted. Reporters.
Okay, so let's pull up a comment that was just recently made, and I do believe it was Geek Gumshoe. Reported by whom?
Yes.
Who? And anytime you have reports of, let's say, paranormal or anything of that nature, I always ask who is benefiting from reporting this.
I just want to for funds, if you look up this case and you look up the Wikipedia of it, it literally says, Tina watched the movie The Exorcist, and then in the next couple weeks, this stuff started. And when it comes to reported by whom, apparently they did, this is what was claimed. Social workers were coming in and out all the time because of the foster care. They were always doing checks on the house. And actually in the photo, if there's, I don't know if you have the extended version of the photo, the infamous phone flying photo, but there's actually the couch over to the far side that the phone is flying towards. If you ever can find the extended version of that photo, there is a social worker sitting there who is actually cut out because they were unable to give any talk about it because they were there for work stuff and like legality things. They couldn't talk about it.
So let's talk about the paranormal aspect of it. Let's talk about what she reported. First of all, you mentioned the Exorcist movie. I want to mention another movie that came out in 1984, or excuse me, 1982.
I didn't mean to say Exorcist. I meant to say the one you're about to say. My brain just did a
Poltergeist. Yes. So basically, 1982, you had the Poltergeist movie that came out, and then you had in 1984 this incident, and I do believe in 1986 or 87 Poltergeist 2 came out. So I think that is somewhat it just seems fishy. Yeah, it just seems fishy.
Yeah, and I agree with you, DL. Like from videos that I've seen, it. And I'm sorry, I was trying to work on getting this one of the videos where she appears on a newscast, and you actually see her grab the lamp and throw and trying to knock it over, but people weren't looking when she was doing this.
Yes.
And yeah, and the newscaster actually looks to the camera after and just shakes his head.
Oh my
you
gosh.
mentioned the video footage. Do we have that we can play?
I do have it. I can play it, but I for some reason I wasn't able to load it up. So I'm gonna have to do like a shared screen.
We're fine.
If
We're
you
Go
fine.
for it.
Yeah.
If you can.
So
Okay.
while you're loading that up, I'm just going to comment here that so when the reporters came on the site, basically the family opened it up and allowed multiple reporters, and evidently there were 40 different reporters from different sources that showed up to report on this specific incident in this specific situation.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, so I don't have, and this is why I would be terrible on a jury, y'all. Don't ever put me on any sort of jury duty, because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to listen to things for like 5 seconds and be like, they're guilty. Just I don't like, y'all know career foster homes.
Mm-hmm.
This to me seems like a career foster home. They're in and out with the children, and they don't seem to treat, from reports that you can look up other kids who have been fostered in this house. They don't seem to treat the children very well. There's a lot of corporal punishment. So can you imagine like being this, we make money off the kids kind of family? This is just allegedly we make money off the kids kind of family. And then one of them all of a sudden is like, oh, I'm haunted. And so you're like, hey, y'all, come on in, reporters. And
more money.
Yeah, bring those reporters in. And then everyone's sitting there staring at this girl and nothing's happening. And so the mom's like, who wants a glass of brandy? Everyone look at me, do something. And so she ends up pulling the, that's just what I see in my head. That's probably not what happened, but I'm judgy. And I feel what I imagine.
I feel that is the consensus with this story. And yeah, the foster parents who are there who will bring in any kid for the money is very common in the system, unfortunately. I had a couple of parents like that, so
oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
And you know, that is one of those areas in which you want to be very careful in which you are addressing, because honestly, when you start dealing, because you do have foster parents who are in it for the correct reason, they're there for supporting the children, and you don't want to shed any type of negative light on the situation. However, this seems to be one of those unique situations, or maybe not unique situations, in which the family was utilizing fostering as a means of income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about fostering before. I've had serious discussions with my husband. At the time, I had a very nice, cushy job. We had the financial means. We had the room. And I was like, you know what? I would love to help. Like, even if it's like, hey, with this, we don't know what to do with this kid for just this like couple days while this thing's being investigated. We really seriously looked into it, but it's I ended up COVID and everyone got laid off in the middle of COVID. That was very fun. So that didn't pan out, but we really seriously have thought about it in the past, and we did a lot of research on it, and there's a lot of really good things that can happen with people who want to help, but there's a lot of really bad things. And if you really think about the system when it comes to fostering and all of that. I'm probably getting up on a high horse here, but I don't understand why the government will give people money to take in other people's kids, but if someone loses their kid because they're too poor or something like that to be able to care for their kid, they would rather give a stranger money to help with this child than the actual parent who might want that kid. And I'm talking about situations where there's not a ton of, murder, drugs, all of those things. Situations where they're poor. They want their children. They want the best for their children, but the kids end up getting taken away for some BS reasons. Why are we giving this random person money instead of the family? Anyway, I'm getting off my high horse now. Shut up.
No, it's okay.
Absolutely.
You've said exactly the same thing that I've said for many, many years. There's been so many stupid stories, especially in my city, of parents getting their kids taken away for various reasons. Look, I know that I was taken into foster care for a good reason, guys.
Oh,
but when kids are playing outside and their parents are watching them from their kitchen, there is not a reason to call CFS on those on those parents.
Okay, back to the case. Sorry.
No.
So I know that we're looking for the video, but in the meantime, while we're doing that,
you got it?
Oh, you got it? Oh, good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
let's hit it.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works okay.
By the way, in case you can't tell, we're all very passionate about this case. We started
this
researching.
case made me so mad.
Not even kidding.
Can you guys see the screen?
No. Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
I
Caught red-handed. Yes.
Okay.
I see that.
Oh, cool.
And already the police are coming out to look at this.
They're mad. We made them mad. All right.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Dear
I
guy,
don't know what's happening.
press play.
I will in a moment, as soon as this dang thing works. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm stuck. What the? Y'all quit laughing at me. This is. Oh shit. Can y'all hear me? I hope I'm not.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh. Okay. You guys see this, right?
Yes, we can see it. It's just not doing anything. That's okay. We can keep talking about the case. So there's the infamous photo. I did want to talk about that as well, if we can pull the photo up for a second, because I want to tear this thing apart. I know everyone's all like, oh, poltergeist activity. The 1 out of the 40 reporters caught it. No, that was the lamp one. This was a different occasion.
How many phones do you need in one space?
Can I just point out that she has the phone, and then the phone's flying that way with her hands faced in the direction that the phone is flying, kind of almost like she threw it.
A bit.
How weird is that, y'all? What a coincidence.
See, I watched a video from the Skeptical Inquirer that was speaking of this case, and the moment I heard the name James Randi getting involved, I thought, no, that's going to die fast then. So they were claiming the gentleman that took that exact photo first begins by saying that, the entity, it could sense that I had a camera. Right. And so as a result, it would have no activity while it was being watched. I thought, all right then. And he tried to explain it away by using the phrase spontaneous recurrent psychokinesis, saying that it wasn't a poltergeist, it was the young lady herself that was creating these things with her mind. Now, I got the first half right. I would say it was the young lady creating these things. But it was just amusing the way that they would say, no, these things kept happening. But then they would turn around and say, we did actually catch her on film knocking this lamp, not once, but twice. They showed it twice. The first time she tapped it with her hand, and it just sort of like waggled a bit. the second time it actually knocked down and fell down onto the floor in front of her. And at the time, they weren't really looking at her. They were talking and so on and so forth. So they get back to their studio. And at the studio is when they finally looked at the film. They thought, oh, we got it on tape. It's wonderful. And then they actually looked at it and said, oh, Christ. No, you can see it. Obviously, she is knocking the lamp straight off the table. Just proper, like, without even a second thought of it. And then you see the pictures of her with the phone. And with the phone, as you said, her hands are always doing this in every single picture of it. And if you notice, if she'd been sitting on that chair, her hands, I'd assume, would be on either on her lap, say, or on the arms of the chair. So if that phone had come racing across her, would it not be over top of her arms? And not constantly, oh, magically her arms just sort of pop up?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
There was so much about it that just screamed that this was a young lady who was in desperate need of attention. She was in a bad situation. She was in a bad moment, in a bad life. And there comes a point where if someone calls you a monster enough times, you begin to think to yourself, well, maybe I should be. And if you're going to be a monster, you might as well go whole hog with this whole thing and just go supernatural with it. Be haunted. Be someone who's creating supernatural disturbances around you. Don't just be that girl that's stuck in the foster home. So it's sad. It is irritating and annoying to see this, but at the same time, it is so just tragic.
And I didn't even think about the phone cord being under her arms. The thing that really caught my attention was if you're sitting down and something scares you, where do your hands go? Because I don't know about you, but mine, I go like up here or up to my mouth or something like that. I don't like, look at the thing that scared me, like I'm doing a dance move.
I immediately cover my face. By the way, I am so sorry. I had to run away because my there were children asleep in my house, and my dog was howling at said siren that was coming through the house. Everybody was like, "Shut the dog up! So my apologies. I had to run away very quickly. So there is something I do if I'm ever on. So Geek Gumshoe says if I'm ever on trial, I want Magda to testify for me. Yes,
she'll bewitch them with her voice. You could be the most guilty person in the world. She'd walk up and be like, well, it was a Tuesday morning when I decided I was going to, like, whenever you're looking up a recipe and then the recipe is like talking about the grandmother she does, it has nothing to do with the dang recipe, but she could just walk up and read something like that and the jury would be like, yeah, what, yes, whatever.
Butter on a hot tortilla, I do believe is how she described her voice to me one time, which is absolutely true. So one of the things that I do want to point out, and it was a comment that Geek Gumshoe made that caught my attention and we discussed actually in depth, was when you look at the photograph, there are two phones in that photograph. Now we are talking about 1980, what was that, 1984 in which this happened. So both of the cords are corded phones. The one that she is using is an all-in-one, which basically does not have a base and a receiver. It is a singular unit. However,
you would grab that off the wall though. Something like that.
And all-in-one, I don't feel like you would. I feel like you do have a base unit on the wall, but the piece that she was using was designed to be set it down, pick it up. It was
so everything was off on ones.
Yes, but the one thing that really caught my attention that we discussed at length was the fact that there are two corded phones. This is 1982. You're talking about a singular phone jack. Most singular phone jacks are only going to have one outlet, one singular outlet. And as I recall, during the 80s, the families that had multiple phones were considered to be rich families. And looking at what we know about her family, looking at what we know the income was, and looking at the house itself, and you don't want to be that person that you're picking things, but yes, that we are not assuming that she is from a wealthy family that would have multiple phone lines.
I still have my
It's a relic.
phone.
No, honestly, landlines. I mean, landlines are few and far between. But think about it when you're looking at when you're looking at your own landline. How many outlets do you have that are designated to a phone line? How many phone lines do you have? I think it's very unusual and very telltale that you have two phones propped up in the exact same spot. You're not talking about families that would be, I'm on my phone here and he's on his phone, or we're on separate phone lines here. There's absolutely no reason to have those two phones together other than she is utilizing one because it is easier to toss across her and pick up and flick versus the one that's on the base.
Can I say
Because,
something?
yeah,
Sorry, go.
Sorry, you have a good point, because you guys can hear me taking my phone off the off
Yes.
the
Loud. Okay, so
yeah, good point.
I have a random okay, so pull up the photo for me real quick. This is just for our younger audience, if we have an audience. All right, guys.
We have a little bit. Yeah.
I know that people tell you that the 80s was neon and everything was bright and colorful. This is the 80s. Everything was brown and covered in wood panel for no reason. That is what the 80s looked like. Unless it was like Taco Bell.
This is early
that's
80s.
90s.
Yeah, this is early
I-
80s. This is pre-1985, in my opinion.
I think that is still like furnishings left over from the 70s, though. Like,
I don't know about y'all. All right, so sound off in the comments, y'all. If you were around in the 80s, was your
That would be
80s
me.
more neon, or was your 80s just covered in brown everything? So, like,
Dawn
y'all let
says
us
she's
know.
audience.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And I think everybody had the same kind of furniture too, like the brownish flower pattern furniture.
Yeah, and everyone had that same alarm clock and the same VHS holder, but that was probably more like the 90s. But still, it was the same items. Even in the video when I was watching where they were talking about, in this case, the alarm clock started going backwards and the numbers were messing up. They pulled up that old brown alarm clock with
Is that
the red
General
letter.
Electric little
The one that
cream colored,
everyone-
natural colored? Yes.
Yes,
Oh, God.
that
Everybody had
alarm
that.
clock is what they used in the photo to talk about her alarm clock going weird in this case.
Well, look, I want to comment on something, because the crocheted Afghans that are on. Magda is making a face. By the way, there are two crocheted chevron Afghans in that photo. There is a multicolored brown and orange, and then over by the door, there's another brown one. By the way, I love these things. My mother made these. My mother was one of those people who crocheted. I have a purple one, and then I actually have a vintage one that is autumn coloring, and it's gorgeous. I love it so much. But that's early 70s, early 80s. I mean, that's late 70s, early 80s at the best.
I'm so glad you love it. I hate it so much. I crochet too. I am a crocheter, and I see those old brown and green and mud, and I see this. Oh God, you're haunting me with it.
I own one.
I own
one
that's
too.
up in the closet.
If
It's in the
somebody in my
closet.
house would bring me mine, I would
Yeah.
greatly appreciate it.
Same.
At
If
least
someone
one
in
of
the
mine.
house could bring me mine, that would be wonderful.
So-
We
I
need to
love these
continue
things
on with this
because-
case. We're getting
Yeah.
so sidetracked. Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry.
That's
I'm just going to say
mostly
I
my
love
fault,
those.
sorry.
No. I'm going to say I love those so much just because there's so much work that's put into them. I know how long it actually takes to make one. Okay, so we have basically seen the photo. We know that there were 40 different reporters there. And so one of the things that I wanted to comment is that you have, bear with me, I am looking down at my phone because I'm looking at my notes. I don't know a comfortable way to do this. So there were multiple reporters there. There were, so somebody from the psych ops team known as the Amazing Randy, who was part of the Skeptical Inquirer, offered the family $10,000 for any proof of paranormal activity. And so basically they were looking for money for, although they were saying, no, we don't want to do that, they were still in that process. So Randy went to different sources that were there looking for photographs
from the
and
newspapers. Of the
yes.
40 different people, they went to those 40 different newspapers where those people worked and tried to get in touch with them.
So he did obtain contact sheets, and the contact sheets, as he said, and as multiple reporters stated, suggested that this was a completely hoaxed incident. And Tina herself stated that she threw the phone. So she stated that she knocked over the lamp. She threw, or was it she knocked over the lamp?
She knocked over the lamp. She never said she threw the phone.
Okay, so she threw the phone. So we kind of know that at this point that she is faking it. Now, one of the things that I want to go ahead and move on to is in 1986, Tina was kicked out of the family home. She became pregnant and decided that she was, from what I could tell from the reports, she was trying to get away from the family. She had a child. And so
she was 19 at the time?
I do believe so.
Yeah.
So where we are now in this case is that Tina has basically been in prison since 1992 for the death of her 3-year-old child. And there are a lot of people who are coming out and supporting her, saying that no, she did not do that. But there is so much evidence surrounding this case that leads me to believe that she did. So now you have not only this person who is involved with this poltergeist, which a lot of people look at and feel was a hoax. There's a lot of people who look at it and feel that it was not. There are people in the paranormal community who are diehard about whatever it is that happens in their community. We've run into that with, I do believe, not Goat Man, but Dog Man in Kentucky, where Geek Gumshoe has been kind of beat up on because he said there's no real evidence. So you kind of have the same situation where I feel like you have people that are going, oh, this is true. Then you have some that are going, there's no evidence. And there's a lot of evidence to the contrary.
Let's go a little bit more into depth. We just kind of like jumped from she's a kid to she has a kid.
Yes.
In between that time, she got kicked out of the house. She did get married at one point. He was apparently very abusive. There was a lot of
was that Darren?
I believe so. And that was the first husband.
David.
And there was a lot of abuse going on. There was a lot of SA and things like that. She did eventually, I believe, get away from him. She ended up with a new boyfriend. And, what is this new boyfriend's name? David? I believe it is David. And David is the one who she dated during the time where her daughter died. He was also imprisoned for this murder. Now, what happened with this at this point? She is 3. Yeah, it is just past, like, I think the last known photo of her is from Christmas, where she's dancing around the Christmas tree in, I think she's wearing like a little tutu. That's one of the last known photos of this child while she is still alive. There's the photo right there. She looks so incredibly adorable and happy and just filled with life. And not too long after this, she will have been, and I apologize for anyone who is sensitive to this, I am not going to hold back anything here. She will have been beaten to death. The mother was working with one of the scientists who was writing a book about her paranormal experiences. You know, those very, very significant, real paranormal experiences. And so the mother was leaving her daughter with her boyfriend, who also had a daughter at the time. And she was leaving her with them in the day while she would go and work. I think it was like $5 an hour. She was transcribing stuff. She was working with this person who was writing a book on all of this kind of stuff. And yes.
Actually, can I interrupt? So the person that she was working with is Dr. Bear with me, I'm going back for my notes, was William Roll, who was Duke University paranormal researcher. And he was associated with her during the time of the Poltergeist. So this is something that has kind of carried, although it was kind of disproven. He was the one person who remained true to this is an accurate case, but I feel like this was more for maybe his research and his support of his program. Okay, go. Sorry.
No, thank you for correcting me on that.
No.
Yes, no, go for it. Correct me. I like it. Anyway, so she is leaving her daughter with this boyfriend and his daughter, and she comes home one day and she has something is wrong, and she's like, what is wrong with my daughter? It's like, oh, well, she what was the first one? I'm pulling from my notes here. Fell off the sidewalk curb after she jumped out of the car and went running down the sidewalk, and she fell and hit her head on the curb. So she had a big knot on her head. Okay, that stuff happens. So she leaves her daughter with this guy again the next day, and the next day she comes back and her daughter's face is completely swollen, and there are lesions or abrasions. Oh my God, words. Across her face. And she's like, oh my God, what happened? Oh, well, she went running out the door and fell down the steps and landed on the concrete or in the gravel and smashed her face all up. And she yelled at him about leaving the door unlocked. You know, my daughter's rambunctious. You know, she's really extra energy. She's not like your daughter, blah, blah, blah. So that's day 2 in a row. Day 3 comes, and I don't even remember what the dang story was. At this point, I didn't even care what the dang story was. Nice. And I am being a judgy butt here, but why the hell are you leaving your child with a guy who every single time you leave your child with this person, they come back injured? I pulled my child out of a daycare because my kid came back with like too much butt rash. Okay. I'm probably being way too judgy on this, but
no, but this is the exact same kind of same feeling that I had with Casey Anthony. Like,
yeah. Okay, Casey Anthony is a whole fun other story, especially with her new little series that's come out on the. Oh my God, guys, I'm so much the victim. Yeah, no, I can go into like a 2-hour rant on Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
So you have the situation where you have, I do believe his name is David Heron or Darren Heron, who is her boyfriend,
David.
David Heron. Thank you.
David Heron, yeah.
And he was being left with the child, but he also was reporting back to the police after the death of the child that Tina was actively beating her child. And you have you have reports on both sides. You do have her claiming to be coerced into a confession, which is the Alfred plea. There are multiple complaints to her, and I do believe they're from him specifically to child services that Tina was abusing her child. So you have a situation where you have what I feel is more of a fame-seeking woman who is working with an author to create a story and a narrative about her past life and the supernatural aspect of it, which got her notoriety. And she has this child, and she's leaving this child at home with somebody who is actively abusing them. So when the complaints, when the autopsy was done, or the medical examiner's report was done, they determined that she was beaten for several days, that there was SA, and that the killing aspect was blunt force trauma. However, Tina may not have delivered that final blow, but she contributed to the environment 100%. And I do believe that is why she is still in prison. Whereas I believe that there's information that is not being released that keeps her in prison while he has been released. I don't think it's necessarily fair because I think they're both contributors, but
on issues like this, it's very difficult to research because every article I found was very much leaned one way or the other. It was very much she's innocent. Here's the evidence. On you said that when they did the autopsy, there was SA. I found an article that completely said, oh no, there was no SA. They just made that up to make him confess to something. And then I found 5 other articles where like, no, there was SA. Every single article all had a very distinct like narrative they were trying to push. It was so difficult to find any sources that were neutral, which I probably have no reason to talk about because I very much am leaning one way on this case, if you cannot tell.
I think we all are.
Well, I mean, I think we're both guilty at this point. Like,
Absolutely.
Why I don't understand if you know something is wrong. So what happened on that last day, on the second to last day? She came home, her daughter was hurt again. And well, what's wrong this time? Oh, well, she's not feeling good. She was really acting weird and out of it. She had a fever. She had a really upset stomach and she had diarrhea. And the mom was like, oh, well, you know, it's probably there was a bug that was rolling around. And this poor kid had an upset stomach and diarrhea, a swollen face. They were acting weird. The next morning, the mom's sitting her up trying to feed her Cheerios before she goes off to hang out with her scientist buddy, whatever, to talk about the poltergeist or work with him on whatever he's working on, and leaves her kid with this guy again. And then, yes.
That book, the book was published. It's called Unleashed. And I cannot bring myself to even, I considered purchasing it so I can read it for this specific event, but I'm like, I can't spend that money. I cannot support what created this situation. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Oh. But the whole thing is she knew something was very wrong. She got home. Her kid was acting weird. She even is reported to have been, there's a big argument on this on both sides. He said, she said, they're arguing on, oh, well, maybe we should take her to the hospital. No, if we take her to the hospital, then child services is going to take her away. And both of them are arguing that the other one said this and that on it. I don't care who said what on it. Neither of them took her to the damn hospital.
No.
That is what I care about. And I'm so sorry. I get so fed up. I'm sorry. I'm on my
No, you rant. Please rant.
I get so fed up at people looking at this case. I hadn't even heard about this case. And then when I looked at everything, it was like, oh, the poltergeist. And I was like, y'all, there's like a freaking dead child over here. I don't give 2 craps about your pretend poltergeist.
That's exactly why I brought it up to you guys. Like, I saw this case and I'm just like, no, this is definitely something for the ice cream queens to talk about.
We would rip this one apart. It's like, we will rip this shit apart. I mean,
the very moment that I started researching this, as soon as I saw that wee lass, that was over for me. The rest of it meant nothing. Nothing whatsoever. No. Because all I could think about was poltergeist. No, I don't care. There's a wee lass dead. She's dead.
Yeah.
And nothing you say or do is going to make a damn bit of difference beyond that. You either by neglect or by direct action allow this wee lass to be taken from this world. And therefore, nothing you say points to anything beyond that.
No. The thing that is bothering me on this is from all the most accounts that I can see, DL, you were correct. Most of the autopsy reports that I can find that were reported about did have SA. And when they were talking to both her and him, they interrogated the hell out of both of them, asking, are y'all into anal? Do you do anal? Do you do this? Are you into this? Are you into this? They would not lay off on this very specific question. And if you think about it, the day before she passed, she was sick. She was nauseous. Her tummy hurt. Yeah. She had an upset stomach. And she had diarrhea really bad.
You know, honestly, when you were saying that, that was the first thing that was kind of coming to my head, is that right there coincides with basically sodomizing a young child. And I might be saying that wrong. I don't really care at this point. It was a horrific case. And honestly, I know that he has been since released.
Yep, but he's free.
I mean,
yeah. But,
and she's currently spending life imprisonment.
But she deserves it, honestly.
Oh, but so should he.
No, I agree. So should he. So 100% should he.
Anyone who just let's pretend for 5 seconds here. Let's just go into our little imaginary worlds where somehow he didn't do anything wrong. Who knows? Maybe she had some weird child butt fetish. That is the worst thing I think I've ever said in my life.
I don't like those words coming out of your mouth.
I don't either, but let's just pretend that for 2 seconds, he did nothing wrong other than sit back and, by his reports, see her physically beat this child and know that something was wrong with this child, and he did not call the police or take her to the emergency room when he literally saw her dying.
Thank you. Honestly, he contributed to the environment. Whether he participated or not, whatever the situation may be, he contributed to the environment that killed a 3-year-old child. And you cannot tell me that he was not involved. A person who is living in a household that is seeing that would leave in a heartbeat, because they would be absolutely mortified. And I believe that in the very depths of my soul.
Oh, yeah.
If you were in a household in which a child was being abused, and you know that it is wrong, you know you cannot sit there and watch that. I feel like he may have reported that, and that may have been some of his, quote, saving grace that got him 20 years versus life in prison. But I feel there is so much about this case and about her that we do not know.
You know what? I actually didn't think about that. I can take a little bit of my rant back on that. If he did report her, which I didn't see a record of, but it sounds like you may have. If he did report her and he was trying to do something from the other side, I do see why he could maybe potentially be out now. But that's only if he never touched that child, which
I don't believe he did.
I mean, we'll never know, but there's so many reports of SA.
I cannot believe, because, you know, the whole birds of a feather.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
We're getting the ticker.
Yeah, that's fine. That's them telling us to shut up. I'm not going to shut up though. No, what you were saying.
Sorry,
no. You're on the case still. I'm jumping off on something else. Go for it.
This case is definitely interesting in so many aspects, where there's so many different elements to it. Like, there's an unsolved mystery episode.
There is, yeah.
And the episode came out like almost right around the time where she got arrested for murdering her child. So, like,
I actually stayed away from watching that episode because I had a feeling most people were going to get their information from that specific episode. So I was like avoiding it and trying to find other information so I could have more.
No, because I feel like I did not watch the Unsolved Mysteries episode either. I looked for it, but I did not see it. So I actually did not watch it. But that actually led me to look for other information, look for other videos, look for other documents associated with the case. There is a Facebook group dedicated to her innocence in this, which, by the way, kind of disgusts me, but you know, it makes me question a little bit about what is out there that is making people. I'm like, is this something that was generated by her family saying that she's, or not her family, but people that are close to her saying that she was innocent? But I mean, everything that I have seen, I'm just like, I'm disgusted with it.
She has a website. And with YouTube videos of her talking about all her life and the case of the murder of her child, and the documentary style, like making a murder, where they actually make her look like she's the innocent party. And yeah,
was that website the ChristinaBoyer.org? Just curious.
Yeah.
I pulled that one up and I was reading and I was like, man, this is really one-sided.
But that's the one that actually I do believe had a lot of the actual court
did.
documents. And
Yep.
if you go in and you read those court documents and you start paying attention to them, also it helps that I live in a household with a former law enforcement person to actually kind of decipher some of what that was. So when I was looking at it, there was a lot of questions that I had that I'm like, okay, what does this actually mean in everyday layman's terms? Because you read it, you see it, you think you know what it means, but sometimes it comes across very different. So I mean, I did have that was assisting me, but oh my God, this is probably one of the most disgusting cases that I've seen in a long time.
I have to say, Willow, thank you for pushing us on this
Oh
one.
my
And
God,
I didn't think I was going to think. I was really annoyed at this dang case. Like, you suggested this case, and I was like, okay, Poltergeist, let's do the thing. Because I am a believer on the Poltergeist and stuff, but I watched one, like, I don't even know, YouTube video about it, and I was like, man, this is such BS. And then the more I got into it, the more passionate I got about this case. Cases that involve children, I have 3. So cases that involve children are hard, and they're very difficult. And yes, I see the ticker. I know we're supposed to get off the air soon.
I'm being told we need to shut it down. Thanks,
but this is why I brought it up to you guys as an After Dark episode, because like we're not going to be able to keep our feelings in check.
Oh God, no!
On an episode like this.
Is all right. So let me just go ahead and hi. If you've been listening to this episode, this is 100% not scientifical fact. This is based on our feelings and very much not within any sort of legal system or any of that. This is all just us talking from our heart.
So, by the way,
allegedly. Okay.
So, I don't know if y'all's notes looked anything like this.
Oh my God.
My notes were insane.
I literally on one of my, I think I started taking notes. Hang on, I'm trying to find it now because oh my gosh, it was so hilarious. I have the last line I wrote. Headaches and stomach aches, activity would stop in front of cameras, blah, blah, blah. Literally every single thing someone could think of to sound like a poltergeist. That was my last note.
She had the format laid out for her in the form of a movie, you know.
If I had heard a few things that weren't in the movie, I might have bought it a little more. The whole like, oh, there's weird smells, or there's plasma, or if there were things that were reported that weren't literally like, hey guys, here's the cookie cutout version of what a poltergeist is, I might have been like, okay, I'm gonna look into this a little harder. But it's literally like, you know, when you're a kid and you're at the sleepover and you got the Ouija board going and everyone's like freaking each other out and all of a sudden every noise is, that's a ghost. That's what this felt like.
Yes.
But in a mass hysteria on a smaller version at a household, kind of like the Salem witch trials. Everyone had this mass hysteria. Everyone, or the what was the 1980s? The devil, satanic panic.
Yeah,
it felt like that, and maybe she got the parents to believe it. Maybe they really thought something was going on. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted the money.
Yeah. No. Well, no. Honestly, if I remember correct, it's been a few years, but I do believe that Poltergeist was a pretty popular movie. I know that they made several following the release of the first, so I kind of feel like, you know, the fact you're in the 1980s, this is if you're making sequels, it's a popular movie, especially as many sequels as they made.
And because of the Poltergeist, they also created their own lore surrounding it that made it seem so spooky to even be involved in the making of it.
Right.
So yeah, like there's so much surrounding the Poltergeist that a lot of people wanted to be involved with.
Well, there is so much detail in the movie itself that is inaccurate that people associate with Poltergeist that is not true. But I mean, it's just Yeah, I'm sorry.
We should have an episode on that on the Ice Cream Queens where we talk about like movie versions versus reality, or maybe another After Dark special, because that would
Ooh,
be one that's
yeah.
in both kind of
Yeah, I kind of
realms.
agree with that.
Where we could talk about like what movies versus, I'm going to quote here because a lot of people are going to get mad if I say the word reality when it comes to poltergeist and ghost activity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hollywood takes advantage of details, and they kind of create a
I'm
narrative.
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were just going to stop there. Hollywood takes advantage.
There's that. There's that. Well, you know, I mean, Hollywood creates a narrative that is not accurate to the real situation, and I think that this is one of those cases. And although kind of flipped, I think this is a art reality creates or emulates art type situation. I'm sorry, I'm getting
No, you're
very
good.
wind down at the moment.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, like I just texted my husband. I was like, "Did I rant too much? Did I go overboard?" He was like, "No, a kid is involved. It hits the mama nerve." And I'm like, "You know what? Yeah, you're right.
We got the mama nerves going on this weekend." So basically, we're at an hour and 15 minutes over. I do believe it is officially time to call it, because we will continue to rant about this case.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us need a shot of tequila after this or something.
I'm going to
even harder.
drink my wine. So
while you drink that, Willow, can you give us what is your next show coming up and doing?
All right, so I haven't quite figured out the next Cryptic Crunch show yet, but if anybody has any ideas, please let me. Please send links my way.
Do an episode on cryptids in Supernatural.
Ooh, like the TV show Supernatural?
Yeah, like the TV show Supernatural. Cryptids in Supernatural.
I'm gonna have to have a Supernatural. Ooh, I'm gonna have to have a specialist to be on the show for that.
So many things you could talk about that comes from Scotland.
Well, no, I mean the TV shows, like cryptids that make appearances.
Spooky and mythological creatures that come from the Isles and come from Scotland. Oh Lord!
Okay, please don't shoot me. But isn't that where Loch Ness is from?
I'm sure they've probably done Loch Ness already.
Loch Ness,
have you done Nessie?
Scotland?
Have you all done Nessie?
We have, but I'd be willing to revisit if there's any new sightings.
Ooh. Have y'all done the what was the girl who like would press the fairies in the book, and she would like go find the fairies in the woods?
What was the new one?
Cottingham.
Is that her?
That was all fake.
And they had like yeah, exactly, but still, a lot of people will like argue that it was completely real and it was a cryptid, and that she was actually catching fairies on film and she was taking photographs of them. That would be a fun one.
Okay, I might have to touch on that one. Okay,
Magda.
Go ahead, DL.
Hi.
So what you got coming up? Boom. What? Okay, did I put everybody on spot?
A little bit.
All right, what do we have coming up? What are we doing?
I've lost track of our list. I'm not sure. I don't have our list.
We have an episode coming up in February. Yeah.
I know.
I don't remember. Do we have a set? So, do we have a set show?
I don't know yet. I really don't know. We have discussed our topics, but I'm not sure that we are finalized on our guests. However, we have an incredible show coming up in April in which we are going to be talking about a true crime episode that hits very, very close to home, in which we will be focusing on, or we will be hosting Geek Gumshoe and Amanda, who has been on with us before and talked about the Body Farm, in a case that they worked together that is extremely high publicity. So that is coming up in April. You are not going to want to miss this one. This was amazing. Geek Gumshoe.
Is it a solved case?
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
I think so. I think it is solved.
Okay.
But there's some details in this that we're going to leave it at that. We're just going to ramble. Okay.
That's it.
That's what I know.
That's where we're ending. No,
That's
no,
where
I'm
we're
kidding.
ending.
I'm kidding.
So with that,
Oh, we are. Okay, never mind.
All right.
pleasant screams. Why do I sound so super?
Night love.